we supremely pleased with the shows we saw this week? I'm starting with Freestyle Love Supreme, created by Thomas Kail, Lin-Manuel Miranda, and Anthony Veneziali, directed by Thomas Kail. This Tony Award-winning show is impressing the audiences at the Booth Theater. One never knows what kind of show you will get as a rambunctious crowd gleefully threw out the suggestions to the thinking fast on their feet rappers. Valerie, David, and myself were among those who shared ideas and shouted them. They had a lot of fun with flex, as you can imagine what that rhymes with. Also, news items that were prevalent in our mind, like the supply chain and anti-vaxxers. And there were a lot of school kids in the crowd because it was Saturday matinee. So they screamed out pop quizzes and essays, and that was used to their great delight. They also spun stories from anecdotes from the crowd. One intriguing one was wrong table, lost smile. This poor kid was late to the cafeteria and couldn't sit with his usual crowd and was forced to sit with a bunch of rowdies that caused him to chip his tooth. The dentist couldn't fix it and he was never able to smile again. But wait, what's that? A dentist in the audience speaks up and says that he can save Alexander's smile. Who says theater doesn't change lives? They can even take something as mundane as a homecoming at Columbia University and turn it into a drunken bacchanal for the mom. Jelly Donut, TARDIS Hardaway, Young Knees, Kaiser Rosé, Shockwave, Two Touch, and C-Jack were unbelievably talented as they spun rhymes and beats into cohesive, comical, and clever stories. Look, I made a rap where there never was a rap. This is the kind of show you can see over and over again and never be bored and always be amazed. And this is getting a rappy face.
Diana has book and lyrics by Joe DiPietro, music and lyrics by David Bryan, and direction by Christopher Ashley. And I'm not one with any great interest at all in the British monarchy, but I do admire Diana for her courage, beauty, charisma, and vulnerability. Her story is familiar but compelling. Devastated by her parents' broken marriage, Diana was determined to make her marriage to Prince Charles work. Enamored of the romance novels of Barbara Cartland, Diana wanted to live the fairy tale. She hoped that the prince would share her love for him. Instead, he could only remain connected to Camilla Parker Bowles. The show opens with Diana singing about being underestimated and being the focus of intrusive press photographers. These themes run throughout the show. I felt the music was rather generic and the script was very, very weak. I only liked two moments of it. I liked when she was visiting the AIDS victims, gay men in the hospital, and she was brave enough to touch them and really communicate with them person to person. And I also felt that the one good song in it was the Queen's song, where she was singing about being an officer's wife. And that was the only time that she had kind of a chance for a normal life. The absolute worst moment was a song about a dress that she wore to a party that was given by Camilla Parker Bowles. And it kept on talking about being a fuckity fuck dress. And I thought it was just a fucked up song. So I gave it mixed faces. I'm not at all sad that it's closing. I don't think there's any real reason for it to be open.
Well, first of all, this was an anomaly because you know me, I love, love, love bad British musicals. It is like my favorite thing in the universe. I mean, when I was in England, I saw Windsor's Endgame, and I'm the only American that would love this show because it was a bad British musical. And that's what this was. And it was done by Americans. And it was shocking. I mean, my God, Joe DiPietro and David Bryan, they did Memphis, for God's sakes. And Christopher Ashley is one of the best director choreographers out there. And Judy Kuhn is the Queen. I mean, this has really good stock. So why did it come off as a bad British musical? I don't know. But I personally, absolutely, I was laughing. I loved it. It's one of those things that's so bad it's entertaining. So, I mean, you will have such a good time. And I am a total royalist. I mean, my God, I have been at every royal event. I get up early in the morning. I have my tea and crumpets and little sandwiches and little cakes all ready to watch, funerals or weddings or births or whatever. I don't care. I love, so don't forget, Diana was actually related to Barbara Cartland. And when I was in high school or in middle school, I used to read Barbara Cartland all the time. And oh my God, she's the worst writer. Her entire novels are I ... love you ... You take away the dots, it'll be 3 pages long. So I really it was great having Barbara Cartland as a character in it. I absolutely adored it. So I personally am giving it a happy face because for me, I was happy while watching it.
I didn't feel it was that bad that it made me feel good. It was just kind of bland and uninteresting, and there's no reason for it to exist. So again, I'm sticking to the mixed faces.
The York Theater is at their new place, St. Jean's, and they're doing Cheek to Cheek, Irving, Berlin in Hollywood, which is written up by Barry Kleinbort. And it's a delightful homage to Irving Berlin and his successes and surprising flops in Hollywood, headed by a sensational cast of Philip Atmore, Jeremy Benton, Victoria Bird, Caitlin Davidson, Joseph Medeiros, and Melanie Moore, who I voted for time and again, and so you think can dance. And they can sing, they can dance, and they narrate interesting facts about Berlin's life. While David Hancock Turner handled the musical numbers with sublime arrangements, Randy Skinner directed and choreographed with such stylish, flashy dancing that the cast outdid themselves executing. If you have the doldrums and are down in the dumps, this will perk you up better than caffeine, eggnog, and that hard to get present, because this is a gift that doesn't require a supply chain. Happy face.
Winter Rhythms is an annual series of excellent and eclectic performances at urban stages, and it continues through December 19th. Eva and I happened to go to Richard Skipper Celebrates Broadway and cabaret legend Karen Akers in Make Your Own Kind of Music. And this is a really wonderful conversation by a loving and very well-informed fan and a grand artiste. Karen Akers got to sing 2 songs by Stephen Sondheim in homage to this god who just died. And she also sang her signature song, My Husband Makes Movies, from 9, which really made her a superstar. And she talked about the whole process of auditioning for this Broadway musical, her relationship with Tommy Tune, and so many intimate things about her early life when she was 5 and she listened to music that her mother would play of Edith Piaf and Yves Montand, and how she started singing in French before singing in any other language, and how her mom gave her discipline. And it was just such a wonderful conversation. And I just love being in the presence of both of these 2 wonderful people. And it made me appreciate Karen Akers even more than ever, which I didn't think was possible.
I'm with you there. And also don't forget her father gave her Curiosity. And it was just, I've been following Karen Akers forever. She is my favorite cabaret singer ever. I love her to pieces. And I had no idea that she had brothers and sisters and about her family life. So that was all, I learned all this stuff I didn't know about her before. And what really got me though, what really shocked me, she auditioned for Hair. Karen Akers in Hair. Oh my God, it's mind blowing. I love it. So yeah, and Richard Skipper, there's no one like him when it comes to interviewing. He's just this wonderful sunny personality in his red jacket and sparkly red shoes, and he just makes everyone feel at home. This was just wonderful. And just to let you know what's coming up at You still get a chance to see December 18th at 3 o'clock, Jason Ostrowski and Sing Us a Song, the music of Belly, Elton, Neal, and more. 8 p.m. is Marvin Gaye at Gays. This is the moment. And Sunday, tomorrow at 3 p.m., Songs of Hope. Tom Tosi presents Danny Botcher, Laurie Krause, Tom Tosi, Michael Wingate, and others, and music director John Dellin. So it's a wonderful thing to see. And it's always, I'm so glad Winter Rhythms is back. Mark, last word.
Yeah, I love everything I've ever seen there. And it's an intimate little theater and it has big stars. So do go if you can.
Mark Shanahan's A Sherlock Carol, combining classic A Christmas Carol with the iconic Sherlock, creates a clever take on a redeemed Scrooge and the insufferable Sherlock. Familiar characters like Tiny Tim, scenes and dialogues to satisfy both genres. Sherlock Holmes, played by Drew McVety, is at loose ends as his powerful nemesis Moriarty is dead. Where's the challenge in living now? Why bother taking cases or staying friends with Watson, played by the remarkable Mark Price? But then comes the mystery of the Blue Carbuncle. This is an actual Sherlock Holmes story, by the way, which I didn't know about and saw recently. Will the game be afoot with Sherlock snapping out of his bah humbugginess? Will the spirits revive his spirits? We never get the aftermath of Scrooge continuing his reformation through the years and not just that particular Christmas. So that was interesting to see what actually really becomes of Scrooge after A Christmas Carol. The actors in their many changing roles were splendid. It was hard to recognize them from one costume change to another. And Drew McVety as Sherlock Holmes was perfect in a combination of despair, crankiness, and constant intellectual superiority. Is it any wonder the guy has no friends? This made me chortle in my chair, get misty-eyed in appreciating friendships, and ponder how much of Sherlock is real or Watson's imagination. A Sherlock Carol is a festive way to start the holiday season and get you in the mood. So that gives a happy face from me.
Suzanne Willett's Quantum Debt, which opened at the Players Theater last weekend, is an intriguing theatrical experiment. It chronicles the life of the principal character, Lisa, a young woman who, with the best of intentions, is destroyed by debt. Using one of the most fascinating characteristics of quantum physics, the almost magical ability for a particle to be in two places at the same time, the author has created a character who is controlled by the expectations and demands of dozens of people she has never even seen: lawyers, accountants, bankers, collection agents, particles exerting unrelenting pressure on an 18-year-old girl who is trying to move on with her life. In this instance, it's educational debt that Lisa first takes on. She's been a better than average high school student, prompting her family to overestimate her abilities. The first educated person in our family. We are so proud. We're counting on you. You are our only hope. Constant, unrelenting, it also eventually takes down her mother and father, who co-sign for a plethora of loans without really understanding what they're doing. Miss Willett's staging cleverly turns the supporting cast into quantum particles. Using interpretive dance techniques, they twist and heave, circulating around Lisa as they coalesce into a living entity, surrounding and suffocating her at a distance. It's a fascinating work in this respect. It goes without saying that the situation applies for any sort of debt, but the rising cost of higher education has become one of our greatest problems. It's something that should be discussed more often in public forums, and for that, Miss Willett is to be congratulated. People need to know more about an industry based on the hopes of desperate people. The debt load carried by the average American is appalling. Basically, we are enslaved by it. It's time that something was done. This play runs through December 19th. For the creative concept and the imaginative staging, Quantum Debt certainly deserves a happy face.
Matt Fraser's Dick Rivington and the Cat, delightfully daffy pantomime. Will Dick and Cat, Tommy the Cat, save the Lower East Side from King Rat with help from new friends and audience? There are enough nuggets to satisfy the whole family. I never stopped grinning, except when I was screaming, "Boo!" and "Yes, we did!" and "Alien!" and singing along to 80s pop music and show tunes. The entire cast was a dream. especially wearing David Quinn's super imaginative outfits. Michael Lynch, who played Sarah the cook, had no egg on her face, but the eggs on her chest that will leave you sunny side up. But to me, the real star of the show was Tyler West, who played Tommy the cat. He knew how to milk the crowd with his acrobatic stunts, phenomenal dancing, and highfalutin prancing and pouncing. This cat is a dynamo. Also was very clever to add to the suspense. He explained to us that we could understand him, but the rest of the cat, he was only meowing. Julie Atlas-Moods is a masterful director, and Stephen Hamill outdid himself with the set. The ensemble of angelic voiced kids and dynamite dancing with colorful fish puppets added to the pure enjoyment of this immeasurably pleasurable festive show. This gets a major happy face.
The Lehman Trilogy is a fascinating historical work detailing the rise and fall of the brothers Lehman, beginning when they first immigrated to the United States from Germany in 1847. It is beautifully written and brilliantly acted. The production is stunning. The set is a rotating glass cubicle backed by stunning panoramas of cities, countrysides, wars, and Wall Street panics. It's a first-class production in every way. My only caveat is the subject matter, interestingly enough. Over time, the Lehman Brothers firm became a buyer and seller of money, a capitalistic vulture that almost destroyed the world's financial system. It didn't plant, it didn't sow, it manipulated stock markets and governments until it could no longer exist under its own weight. As a middle-class American, I was raised as a capitalist. I have never been hungry or poor or cold, but capitalism by default must continue to grow without end, and unchecked growth is the very definition of cancer. How long can we go on depending upon the populace to spend, seeing prices increase until we can no longer afford to rebuild our cities? Happy face for a brilliant play and stunning production, sad face for the Lehman Brothers themselves. So a mixed face all around from me.
Well, first I want to say that it was written by Stefano Massini. It was adapted by Ben Power. It was directed by Sam Mendes. And the people involved were Simon Russell Beale, Adam Godley, and newcomer Adrian Lester. And it's really funny. We got a completely different viewpoint on this. You saw it from the economic angle, and me, obviously, I saw it from the Jewish angle. And again, I saw the original at the Park Armory when it was like 4 hours long. And to me, it was the most brilliant thing I ever saw. And it got me. I was so choked up by the end. I couldn't even leave my seat. I was like so crying so hard because to me, it was a Jewish story. And it was about this Jewish family that they're very religious when they first get there. And the way they show how slowly you get assimilated, how religious Jews become cultural Jews, how you basically turn into the marvelous Mrs. Maisel, it was through the Shivas. But they cut out all those Shivas. They weren't not, so you didn't see the decline of the religion. And that's what got to me, to see how this wonderful Jewish family just got taken over by America and became less and less and just turned into Americans and lost their Jewishness. And that always breaks my heart. Simon Russell Beale made the most adorable little boy. I mean, he's so cute. And the way they changed from, you think that 3 people playing a cast of thousands would confuse you, but it didn't. They, all of them, Adam Godley, even Adrian Lester, were all, captured each character they were supposed to play, that you knew when they were the wife and the children and everyone. And also it was sad to me to see this Lehman Brothers, because I was looking at it from a human point and not an economic point, to see their company that they worked so hard and adapted to so many tragedies and catastrophes and kept making it better and better, but it got too good for its own good. And just when they finally let go of it, the tightrope walker fell to the ground, because they were no longer part of it. They lost their Jewishness, they lost their company, they lost their morals, they lost everything. And that, to me, it was a Shakespearean tragedy. I just, I didn't get the same emotion from the Armory one, but it's still, the kernel is there. I'll give it a happy face minus. I've always been a fan of Lanford Wilson, so I was very excited by this new company, Open Circle Play Factory, exploring Lanford Wilson with the Mound Builders, Disunion, which I knew, and Sympathetic Magic coming together, which was new to me. What is interesting is that both focus on a once-in-a-lifetime event that could have a very strong impact on the future of knowing one's past and beyond. It's also mixed with relationship issues. But to me, it was just badly directed by a cast that may have potential. So I'm giving a mixed to happy, unhappy face, which I'm sorry to say. And with even more marvelous shows to talk about is our very own Jay Michaels with his Indie Influencer.
Oh, hello. I'm Jay Michaels. Welcome to my den. I'm sitting here in front of a roaring fire, and you know, as long as you come to visit, I'd like to tell you about a very special member of the theatrical community. I guess you could say she's a producer, as her shows happen regularly. Or maybe you'd call her a director, because she helms a brilliant, talented, and fascinating group of people. Or maybe she's a writer, as so many hang on her every word. Then again, maybe she's an actress, because sometimes her performance is quite simply the best of the event. What I can say definitively is that she's a stunning facet to the American theater, and her presence has made a difference to countless artists. She cares little for fame and fortune, and is paid with the enjoyment and thrill she gets from interfacing with a healthy swath of the live theater community. She was a bigwig when I met her over 20 years ago, and she's just as invaluable, entertaining, intelligent, and marvelous now. Even more. I'd like you all to do me a favor. Go to your Facebook and to her page and send a quick note simply saying thank you. Don't get fancy. Don't plug a show. No GIFs, splits, JPEGs, SMIFs, dips, blips, emojis, anything like that. Just write thank you. Now, Jay, I hear you cry. You're being cagey again. Who is this incredible fairy godmother of the arts? It's our own Eva Heinemann. From the bottom of my heart, Chief, thank you. From all of us at J. Michaels Communications, Channel I, Indie Influencer, and High Drama. Happiness, good health, and peace to you all.
At Playwrights Horizon is Sylvia Curry's Selling Kabul. It's a taut-gripping tale of the aftermath of the Afghan war and what it did to the people who helped Americans. Tarun is hiding out in his sister Afia and her husband Jawed's apartment. Afia comes home with the wonderful news that Tarun's wife, Bibi, just gave birth to their first child, a son. Naturally, he's anxious to visit his wife and son in the hospital, but it's too dangerous. The Taliban are searching for him. Anyone who tries to help Tarun is in danger. They are interrupted by Layla, who is Afia's BFF and neighbor who just had a son herself who is 5 months old, and she's behaving very peculiarly. It is obvious they can't rely on Jeff, the American that Tarun had translated for, to help them get a visa. Will Afia and Jawed be able to help Tarun escape and reunite with his wife and child? They have to come up with another plan because the baby came 2 weeks earlier. Will Tarun, in his strong desire to see his family, sabotage their efforts on his behalf? I have never been in such a silent listening audience. Not a cough, phone going off, or crinkly candy wrapper, only the occasional sniffle. Tyne Raffaelli has deftly directed this with such attention to pacing that I hardly breathed through the whole play, and it wasn't because we were all masked. The actors, with just their silences and screams, expressed all they couldn't say and feel. Because of this, I think that Jeff is doing his best to get Tarun a visa, because my neighbor's husband died, a journalist in Iraq, and she was trying to get his translator out, and it went through so much to do it. So Jeff is trying to get the visa, but I can understand the red tape. And Afia obviously doesn't put much faith in Jeff and is more realistic than Tarun. It is the citizens that have to pay for all these power struggles. Sylvia Correa has written a terrifying play about how citizens have to pay for government power struggles. They just want to live their lives with their jobs, family, and sports on television. Imagine having that taken away from you. I am sold on selling Kabul. I'm giving this a major happy face.
Patrick Hamilton's play, The Box, is an up-to-date discussion on the nature of masculinity. It's also very, very funny. It's tricky to pull that off, but Mr. Hamilton has managed to combine comic and tragic elements to create an entertaining and informative narrative that made the audience think and laugh at the same time. Masculinity is not in fashion. Given the problems facing any relationship in our social media milieu, it's interesting that men and women haven't completely lost the ability to read one another's signals. What does it mean to be a man? What is expected of you? These are the subjects of Mr. Hamilton's play, and it's high time that they get discussed. The Box closed last week, but it's such a good play that I wanted to give it a mention. I believe we're going to hear from Mr. Hamilton again. He wrote a fine play, well worth seeing because it's original, a clever slant on an ancient subject. That alone requires a major happy face.
And now for things that are coming up, that some former guests from our show. Becoming Dr. Ruth with Tova Felcher closes January 2nd, and there's a talk back with Dr. Ruth herself on December 22nd at the Museum of Jewish Heritage. Metropolitan Playhouse is virtually back Saturday, December 18th at 8 with a Christmas stocking. And my favorite event of the year that me and Barry used to do all the time, Sunday, December 19th on Zoom at 4 p.m. The annual is a Wonderful Life act along. And last year I was Clarence the Angel. I have no idea who I'll be this time. And there's so much going on at Theater of the New City. They got Dragita closing December 19th. Also Bread and Puppet and the Christmas Express closing January 2nd is Vic Thorges with a Christmas Carol, Oi Hanukkah, and Merry Kwanzaa. And closing January 9th is William and Jazz and Ishmael Ray's The Slave Who Loved Caviar. And there's so much going on at Feinstein's 54 Below with Michael Feinstein celebrating Judy Garland. Scott Siegel has 54 Broadway's Greatest Hits. Frank Sinatra and 10 years of Tony Award nominees. There's Andrea McCardle and Norm Lewis and so much, Beth Level and Charles Bush. I didn't do interviews anymore because there's so many plays to talk about and I can finally release my hands.